So we have 45 minutes now, 42, apologies about that, or possibly 41. We want to build ourselves up. We're going to pack this session full of tips, thoughts, things we should do, things we may not do in a few weeks. But I'm delighted that a little bit later in the call, I'm going to be joined by a guest speaker as well to keep it nice and varied. We've got Maura Dunn joining us, and I'll intro Maura shortly rather than right now. I'm going to save the mantra kind of information to the end, because today we are providing our first introduction to our new product. So I'll save all of the mantra blurb till then. But I do hope that you, even if you can't stay till the very end of the call, that you watch back and you learn a bit more about our new and exciting product. But because we want to do so much today, let's get started. So when we think about thriving, sometimes we think about wellness. Sometimes we think about energy. Sometimes we think about being too busy. Lots of these things kind of come to mind. And so I want to start the session by just saying, whether or not you're feeling really positive and energized, or whether you felt exhausted, badly in need of the big coffee and crawling to the end of the year, this session is still for you, because we all have those days. And we may have had a really chocker year last year. But we're back, and our goal is to get everyone firing on all cylinders, and not just starting well, but really being as productive and impactful throughout the year as we can be. So I want to pose a few questions and thoughts first and get your input. So I suppose today we're going to be talking about, is it about starting well, or is it more about resilience? Is it about goals or systems? Is it habits or mindset? Bit of all of these. Is it a marathon? And we need to have that staying power throughout. So really, we're going to try and explore what good looks like to all of us individually as very different people in 2025. And I want to explore things like how we fuse our personal goals with our work ones and make sure our values align so that we are happier. But I really want to start with a mantra truth. So we've had 4 great years in mantra, and in truth, 2024 was one of the toughest yet. So we had a lot of analysis to do by the end of the year. It was a lot of really deep diving and figuring out why that was. Why did it feel different? Where had it potentially gone a little bit awry? We were still doing great work. I'm so blessed. We have an amazing bunch of people. It's a great team. We have a great community. We've a brilliant client base. And the work we're doing is still really, really good and interesting. So just felt a bit different. And we all agreed on this. And I think, some of the mantra team are here. So as we started to go for growth and scale, we felt we lost some of our magic. That's our truth, right? Thankfully, our clients didn't feel it, or certainly haven't as to now, and we are not going to be feeling that anymore. But individually, we went from collaboration and really like what we always called our mantra magic to, a bit more siloed and a little bit less engagement one-to-one, and a bit more task management and getting things out the door. So for me, to start with the mantra truth, it's about saying, what have we learned from that? What have we done? And I want to share some of our insights before I bring in Maura. And just before I do that, I'm going to ask you all to talk. We've got 2 different questions we want to ask you about what thriving kind of means and how you feel about 2024. So I'm going to ask you all to take out your phone and scan this code if you can. Anybody who's here and willing to share, I'd love you to just I'll do 1 question and then move on to a second. But we're asking you to share with the group, and it will be anonymous. And how did you feel? How did you feel informed? And how are you feeling about 2025? Let's start there. I'm going to just try and not make another technical hames of things by flicking from screen to screen. So give me a minute. Literally nothing would surprise me given my start here. Oh, I love it when things go so horribly wrong. Bear with me. So, yeah, cannot get into it for the life of me, lads. Just give us a second. Yeah. And if anybody wants to just jump in here and say, you know, how do you think things went? Just do that to save me face a little bit. That would be fabulous. Anyone? I will share that.
Well, I know personally it was one of the most hectic years I've ever had. So I know I'm part of the mantra team, but yeah, bonkers, mental, busy out of 10, probably 15. So there you go. But feeling quite optimistic about 2025 coming into it.
Good. Can you see that, folks? Is that sharing? Yeah.
It sure is. Yeah.
So what people are feeling is they felt they did pretty good. 7.3, I would say, is very good in terms of overall performance from your capability. How busy you felt, people are feeling very, very busy. But I'm really delighted to see a lot of people are feeling very optimistic. So that's good news. We're going to go to the next question. It should bring you on to the next one. I want you to just input, what does thriving mean to you? What does success in 2025 look like? You can do several responses, so you can put in a few things. You know, what do you think when you think thriving?
People give a thumbs up if that one's working for them. It's just not working for me on my phone. It's not working. No, Julie says it's not working. So I think it just said the presenter hasn't changed slides yet. So we need to go back into that, Lisa Nicole.
Yeah, I have. So it should be for you if you're still in there. Just double check there. Yeah.
Can I get a nod or a shake of heads?
Yeah, it's working now. You just need to refresh and it brings you on.
Okay.
The joys of Mentimeter. So let's see, what does thriving mean and what does success look for you? It can be personal, it can be work, it can be as a leader, it can be as an individual contributor. But what does good look like and what does success look like? Just let people do that for a moment. Right, so we're seeing prioritizing, true to self and values, busy with time for personal goals, self-care, contentment, connected. I love that. Okay, so some specific goals coming in around strategies, performing well to plans. We're going to talk a lot about this, how we stay on track, maintaining autonomy, family first. Sense of ease has come up a few times there, and being empowered. We'll share this afterwards. We can share these thoughts afterwards with people. So some nice responses coming in here. Thanks. And what I'm going to do is I have one more for you, because I'm afraid to switch again in a few minutes. I'm actually going to get you to do it now. So this one is about us saying, you know, what's your non-negotiable? So what's your daily non-negotiable activity you're going to do to try and stay on track and thrive? So again, what do you do that's a no-brainer, doesn't come out of the diary no matter what? And if you don't have one, what's your goal daily non-negotiable activity? So we call this the DNA. What's the one thing you're absolutely going to do? And let's just see how we're all starting the year with these great intentions. Love January for that. Okay, so walks, movement breaks, drinking water. Love that nobody said coffee. I'll say mine is definitely still coffee on the swing chair because it totally grounds me. No overtime, love that. Julie, I am assuming the updating Asana is you with the smiley face, is it? Brilliant, love it. Okay, so meeting free time in the day is a really good one. And when I bring more in, we're going to start talking about some of these tips. Trying getting outside, lots of really good intentions here. Thank you for sharing. You can still keep going with that and we will share them afterward. What I'm going to do is bring it back now to the other presentations though. And I just have one slide to share and then we're going to bring in Maura. So having a bit of a nightmare with my computer. Sorry, folks. Can you? I've had
Totally
to
fine,
unplug.
Lisa Nicole. Totally fine. We don't have a PowerPoint showing at the moment, but you'll get there.
I know. I've had to turn off my other screen completely, so I'll have to just present here. Hang on.
You just need to put that into presenter mode now.
I know. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. So just the Thrive lessons from 2025 from our side. There was a couple of things I want to focus on. I won't focus on as many of these now because of time. But really, I suppose I am not the best person in the world. I should be doing a confessions of how I don't stay focused. But when I say focus here, really, this is like an acronym for me around things like frog first. Procrastination is my biggest enemy. I'm ADHD. I always wait till the end of the day to do the thing I need to do the most. So frog first, only one thing at a time. Suzanne Mulholland, who I work with, bought me this. If you can see that, my brain has too many tabs open. That's me all over. So only one thing at a time. The C is knowing how you're, contributing to the bigger picture, that big goal, and really understanding what that big goal is the you. And so making sure the thing you're prioritizing, the thing you're doing is that. And finally, the S is like stopping distractions and stuff. So we're going to talk a lot about that with Maura. BHAG really, I suppose for us, we were very clear on our goal, but I think there was too many things that was taking us down different kind of strands. The win, I won't spend too much time on each of these. The win is what's important now. For us at Mantra, that really was all about each other, the space for each other, space for learning, space for connection. So Gallup, as we know, Gallup say the number one things that make the number 1, 2, and 3 things that make us happy at work are a bit of autonomy, as somebody has mentioned. But really it's about support and connection, feeling that you're supported and connection work, and that can be with a peer and a leader. So what's important now for Mantra is that we get together more, that we box off time for learning, space for each other, for fun. The PWWP is practice what you preach. I am again confessions of a person who doesn't use all the tools that I have in my arsenal. I might use them at home with the kids, or I might use them in work, but I don't necessarily fuse all those. And we're really focusing on that. It was a hard lesson in 2024, because one of the key things we were saying was, how are you finding time to reflect? What's the most important priority? And then for ourselves, that wasn't always top of mind. And the final thing for me is really in Mantra style, really focusing on making it meaningful. So one of the other big lessons that we had last year was recognition of the fact that for us to be motivated, we need to be having the biggest impact we can have. And that was absolutely and is always part of our purpose and our own goals. But actually, we need to really stand for something and be really clear what that is and say it over and over again ourselves. And so we've really honed in on that for 2025, and we know what we're all about. So there are lessons. At this stage, I would like to, that we've done that already, so ignore. I would like to welcome Maura Dunn, and I'm delighted Maura could join us. Maura is this is my intro for Maura, not her own bio. My intro for Maura would be a fascinating career that actually spans biochemistry, pharmaceutical, but also huge amount of work in mentoring, in business support, consulting. And Maura started a company called BeProductive.ie in 2016. And it really is helping people with all the things that we are going to talk about now. She's the CEO and founder. I've come across Maura through the LEO, the Local Enterprise Office networking groups. I am absolutely excited that we're going to be looking at further collaboration in 2025. So Maura, I'm going to stop sharing here and bring you in to talk to me at this stage.
Hello. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. I want to just start by asking you, how has 25 started for you? What does thriving mean to you?
Yeah, it's everybody can hear me okay, can you? Just to check before I get stuck in. Yeah. Hi everyone and happy new year. I think I see some familiar faces and familiar names on the call. So it's lovely to be here and have this opportunity just to stop and think and as you say, yeah, see where we are in relation to last year and this year. Thrive is a great word. Actually, I was just thinking in your opening address there, Lisa Nicole, it's not a word I use often. I'm kind of focusing on productivity and efficiency and stuff, but it really does encompass all of that, doesn't it? But also with a very positive kind of motivational message as well. So, I think it's a great word. I am optimistic. I had a very good break over Christmas, which was fantastic. I took a kind of slightly longer one and do feel very refreshed coming back into it now.
Good stuff. I'd love to ask you just a little bit about what 2024 looked like in terms of the types of things you were coming across and how people you were dealing with were feeling, that whole sense of as we got to the end of the year. I don't know if it was just me or not, but I felt like a lot of people were kind of crawling towards the end of the year. Yeah. Did you get a similar vibe from people?
Yeah, I mean, it's ever evolving. Looking back in 24, I just kept moving into different topics and themes based on what clients wanted. I suppose our workplace is ever evolving at the moment because there's that whole balance between working at home, return to the office, people, a lot of companies are still in that transition period. So there's new issues coming up all the time. There's AI, there's just so many things. So definitely it was a year with a lot of change, which I love because it keeps it interesting for me if I'm constantly developing new content and products. So yeah, that's really good. Towards the end of the year, yeah, definitely I was getting more and more requests for stress management training and how to deal with burnout. Seen a lot of that and also seen a lot of research that showed very high levels of burnout in
Absolutely.
which is worrying,
Yeah, I saw that with some of the studies as well. So, I mean, you can't help but ask that question. Have we just gone back to pre-COVID busyness and stress, or is it even worse? And most importantly, is how can we reframe that and get on top of that? So I love in your way of working with people, it is about taking back some of the control. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What are the key things that people can do to start well? And then we'll get into resilience and stress management separately. But what are the key things you think are a great place to start?
Well, I think you have to look at it on a number of levels. There's things we can do individually, but then most of us are working in teams or maybe in our own business or in a bigger organization, so there's things that need to happen on an organizational level as well, because a lot of the stress comes from tight deadlines, constantly changing priorities, new things landing in on top of people's desk. And I think in general terms, people don't want to say no, so they feel they have to say yes to everything. So that's one of the first key things, I think, on an individual level, to just examine, I suppose, our response time, look at the list of things we have on our plate. And I know we need to try and get everything done, but when that becomes unrealistic, to feel that you can have a conversation with someone and just sit down and say, look, let's look at this, let's look at what's practical and reasonable, let's reprioritize, you know, because what I find working with business is that, you know, people have new ideas and new things come along, and we feel we have to do everything together now. So it's really looking at, you know, taking a look at that big list and prioritizing very strategically for the business and saying, that's a fantastic idea, but maybe it doesn't have to be done this month. Let's push it to next quarter or the following quarter, and really being able to focus in quarter by quarter, month by month, down to each week on what are the key priorities now, you know, the critical things, and then being able to separate out the things that, yes, will really add value, but aren't so critical now. So that, I think prioritization is key, because everyone that I work with has more to do than the time to do it. That's the reality.
Yeah,
If you-
and that doesn't seem to get better. I know myself and Suzanne Mulholland have said since day one in mantra, you know, maybe next year we'll be able to do this, or, you know, in the summer or when it gets quieter. So that doesn't happen. So how we manage that is the only way we can get on top of it. So you mentioned there, we don't want to say no to things. We want to be able to look, people don't want to look unaccommodating. We also have so many pressing demands and interruptions and all that. You know, how do you kind of typically advise people to manage, you know, communicate, I suppose, where something isn't going to happen within a time frame they're thinking, or, you know, assuming people are working in an organization and you're potentially managing up as well as your team.
Absolutely.
How do you suggest people manage that boundary setting?
Well, I think what you've said there is the first step is to tell people, you know, if you have a commitment or a deadline, you've promised something to someone, you know, you're not going to hit that deadline because maybe something else has come up or it's taking you longer or whatever. There's all sorts of reasons. The thing is to communicate it, let someone know, you know, so it might be just a quick email saying I was due to get the figures to you by the end of the day. It's going to be tomorrow. I'll get them by lunchtime. That does a number of things. It lets the other person know, which they'll appreciate. They also get the commitment when you will deliver it, but it also takes that stress and worry away. Whereas if you finish your day, go home, it's on your mind all night, you know, you're thinking, oh, I should have got that done. That other person's going to be upset, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if we actually do that piece of communication, it works on both sides, you know. I mean, obviously sometimes you're not going to get a great reaction when that happens, but hopefully in general terms, I think if you're on top of your work, if you set regular priorities week by week, you communicate those with your key stakeholders, if everybody's clear what people are working on, then if, you know, if something isn't delivered, there's going to be a good reason for it, you know. And I think we feel, as you said, we don't want to say no because we feel we should be able to cope with everything. But it's not that we're not delivering because we're sitting around doing nothing. You know, there'll be a reason why you haven't been able to meet a deadline. And, you know, if you communicate that in good business terms, in objective terms, not in emotional terms, then, you know, the other person should be open to that, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's actually really golden, that piece around being able to reflect back or communicate something will give without it feeling like, you know, you're putting them against the wall, or, you know, being able to be practical, pragmatic. It's a safe space to say, well, okay, that's absolutely fine, but if that's taking priority, which of these maybe is a bit less
Exactly
important, or is it okay if I do this then next week because really I can't manage them all in, you know. So it's just something about kind of owning that, managing it, and using that, like that really, I suppose, objective language, you know, or that professional language around
a
it.
little bit more assertive than maybe we feel comfortable with, you know. And you know, it is about saying, yes, of course I'll do that, but that means I'll get less time in this project, so it's going to have this impact. So again, it's talking about it purely in work terms, the implications, not whether you feel like doing it or you're stressed, you know, because I think that can fall on deaf ears, you know. So giving people the real implications of it, you know.
I think you're striking on something that's really interesting to us. So we talk a lot about shaping the emotional culture of your team, of your workplace, of your own environment, whatever that looks like, even if it's just two of you or your partner with somebody, whatever. And sometimes people, me included, like this is a confession session, it seems. But like sometimes we push out messages to have a read of this, or this is a great article, or whatever that might look like. And people may again feel that you have to interrupt your day to do this, so we suit ourselves maybe in terms of how we communicate. And leaders generally can want to manage well-being, but then, they mightn't really know what a typical day looks like or breaks down with. So as a leader, how do you potentially recommend that they make sure their teams are doing okay, and that the expectations are actual clear expectations and not something they're assuming they have to do?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's loads in there that you've touched on. One of the first things you were saying there about, we kind of contact someone when it suits us. I think as a leader, it's really good to develop the behavior and model it to everybody else, where you say to someone, I need to talk to you about this today. When does it suit you? When can you give me 10 minutes? Because it's respect for their time, but also it means you're going to get them at a good time when it suits them, when they're open-minded. Whereas if you just land into someone or ring someone or contact them on Teams, they could be under pressure trying to get ready a presentation for a meeting or something. So you mightn't get a good reaction. So I think just everybody being conscious of each other's time and respecting time is really positive. And then just from a well-being perspective, it's interesting to me, the greatest well-being strategy in any organization is good open communication and good management. And as you've said, making things clear, because a lot of stress comes from, you get a task or a project and you've an idea how to do it, and you might deliver it, but somebody else has a different expectation. So really just getting into the habit of having that clarity up front. So when, a goal is set or people are discussing a piece of work, saying, okay, let's tease out what are the key things we're going to do here, and having that clarity up front. And if there's any different opinion, sort it out before any work gets done. So we're not getting time wasted, dissatisfaction, and rework, because nobody's time for rework. We just want to do something once,
Agreed. Okay, and I suppose I did mention that we would talk about leadership embodiment, and I just wanted to raise this with you. So when I think about leadership embodiment, or say the game face, okay, getting people really motivated, staying kind of positive energy, positive psychology, all that good stuff. How do we get the balance right between your authentic self, if you're feeling a bit broken and battered and you're not quite in that mode yourself, and then, getting people really motivated and on the same page? So I don't know, have you any thoughts about kind of embodying leadership and how we get ourselves into thrive mode, even if we're feeling a bit wilted? Like, are there different habits or different kind of reframing mindset tools or thoughts that you have in mind that can help people?
I suppose it is about finding what works for you as an individual, what helps you get into a positive mindset, even if you're not feeling that, when you wake up in the morning, maybe you are feeling stressed or feeling worried. It's having a few go-to techniques to help you flip into that, leadership role, how you want to be perceived to others. I mean, obviously you do want to be authentic as well. So
Absolutely.
it's not about always pretending everything is perfect, because I think people appreciate the authenticity as well. And I think as a leader, we can be honest, and, we don't have to know everything. We have to consult and collaborate as well. So it's about getting that balance, But I think
Absolutely.
sometimes with mindset, focusing on what we are getting done and what we are achieving, most people I work with talk to me about all the stuff they can't get done. And I'm saying, well, if you're not getting that done by the end of the day, focus on what you did get done, and that just helps flip the narrative in our heads, and I think for me, a constant reset throughout the week works as well, because we often start the week, and I talk about the week a lot because I think it's a good time frame for planning and replanning and focusing. But even day to day, I do a shutdown routine at the end of the day, which kind of helps me just, take those few moments before I run off and do something else. When everything's fresh in your mind, kind of recap, see where we got to, what's changed, what needs to change for tomorrow. And that can help you manage a bit of stress as well, because just taking that little bit of time to get a little bit of control back, make some decisions, and then you can set yourself up for a productive day the next day, and maybe be in a more positive mindset for your team because you've just had that moment of reflection.
Now, I love that because I am the person who goes to shut down in the evening and has about 40 half-written things open as I'm going to shut
You're
down. I'm
damn.
like,
That's what-
close, damn. Oh, I never said that. Panic, right? So it
Yeah.
sounds to me, my husband is a personal trainer. We were chatting about this last night, and he was saying, well, it takes 21 days to change a habit. So start with one new habit. I think I found mine, Maura. It's a give myself a half an hour to do the shutdown. So I round out that day without bringing it all to the night or the next day. It sounds like a good
even
one
10
for
minutes.
me.
That's what I say to people. Put a reminder in your diary 10 minutes before you want to finish. It comes up, it reminds you. Have a little checklist of 3 things you want to do every day. You know, maybe review your list, notify people, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And help yourself do that just before you go. And again, if you put it in for 3 weeks in your diary, then it'll help you do it often enough, and then it'll be
That it becomes that habit.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you very much. I know we could keep talking for ages, and there's lots of different things that I know you recommend. There are a number of resources on Maura's website, but equally we are watch this space because we are going to be putting our heads together, a mantra with Be
Yeah.
Productive for over 2025. But thank you so much for those
You're welcome.
tips and recommendations. I just want to spend a few minutes, folks, at the risk of doing a presentation again. I do want to introduce you to Mantra Thrive, which is our new product. And the idea of this is it comes from, I suppose, our own experience, our experience working with last year more than, you know, between the workshops, the strategy work, the one-to-one stuff, our recruitment engagement with boards and people at all levels, we hear the same things over and over. We probably met with more than, 4,000 between all of us across different workshops last year. You're hearing very similar things. And one of those things is that leadership can be lonely. We often have to make our decisions ourselves with our own information in a short space of time. And we know from all of the work that we've been doing that the issues that come up for us as leaders, as people managers, as people trying to plow through and do the best work we can, make the biggest impact we can, they're the same things. People management, it might be conflict management, it's change management. It's actually navigating a complex situation that you haven't charted before, but actually somebody has. And so Mantra knows that often what we really need is a sounding board. It's someone to bounce things off. It's someone who has experience, who might be working with others who are walking that path exactly like you are, and who can help shortcut that decision making and really help you to build out a plan much quicker. Or it could be that it's about a sounding board that keeps you accountable, like me, who's like the worst of habits in the world. So what we have done is we have created a product that combines that strategic sounding board with our leadership development various different products. So anybody who's here today who has joined our impact culture sessions knows we've been running a whole suite of webinars. We're going to continue doing those once a month in the impact culture session, but separate to that, we're also creating a new way of accessing bite-sized learning for leaders. You get the job, you're a leader, you're stepping into a new role, new challenge, new strategy. Nobody gives us a handbook. So Mantra has created Thrive to help leaders to have that sounding board, to road test things, to work with. I'm just going to share a couple of slides about that, if that's okay. And I'm really hopeful it's going to work this time. Can you see that? I'm afraid to ask. I can't see you guys now, so I hope you can see
You can see it. Sorry, I was giving you a thumbs up. Sorry.
Brilliant. Okay, so what we have done is put our consulting and our learning development stuff together. Really, the goal is help you make the biggest possible positive impact you can. We want to help you solve, explore, thrive. And so really what we find is, this means you won't have to do it alone. Now, it won't suit everyone, but I think it'll suit a huge amount of people, and we're delighted to get to launch it. We go from February. We have a wait list. We have a few people already signed up, and we're really excited. What's it all about? It's going to help you to make sure to have the space to dream. The development, kind of ongoing, very accessible, multi-format nudges, learning articles, etc., to allow you to continually develop and hone your leadership skills, and also then that specialist advice. So put in risk, navigate with ease, having somebody there with you to be, even from a overall perspective, to be able to talk to your stakeholders, your board and others, to say, you know, I've been working on this, I've bounced around and I have, you know, different evidence pieces. It'll really help. We can help with, you know, decision making, planning, prioritizing, driving forward something new, right through to culture shaping, personal development, preparing for big pitches and so on. These are all things that we as leaders need support with along the way. There are 3 elements in a nutshell: the advisory piece, the learning, and then the community. So Mantra Connect is going to have some really exciting events purely for members of our Mantra Thrive. What's it look like? This just gives you a very quick sense. There are actually 3 products. I won't go through all them today. You can find out more. But essentially, you get monthly sounding board, you get a quarterly CEO kind of check-in on strategy, you get webinars, and that's about an hour and a half a month of learning, pure learning. And then whispers, so member-only content, nudges, inclusive leadership reading, etc. And a suite of tools, playbooks, implementation, frameworks, etc. That'll be really helpful. And the events that I talked about, that's really annual strategy sprints. The idea being it'll be about dreaming big for equality, for female health, for different topics. And the relevant members will be invited to those. So we're really excited about it. That's a whistle-stop tour. It is for any leaders, managers, and teams in an industry or sector where they feel they could really do with that sounding board, but also they want to make a mark. They want to leave a really positive leadership legacy, and we feel we can help them have the confidence and the know-how to do it. So that's the intro. I didn't want to overdo it, and I'm conscious of time because my tech issues totally befooled me at the beginning. I'll open the floor for a minute or 2. If anybody has a question for Maura or wants to ask any more information, what we'll do is follow up with everyone and share more about Mantra Thrive and let you kind of peruse it. But any thoughts or questions? Anybody got a productivity question they want to put to Maura before we let her off the hook? I know people are going to have to go as well, and that's absolutely fine. Mary O'Donovan, you always have a question for me. Where are you with your question? Nothing. Hi, Liz. Sorry, nice to see you. I'm only seeing the faces now. Graham, how are you? Hi, folks.
No, Lisa Nicole, I was just going to say, I know I don't have a question, but I was just going to put a note. I was typing a note in the chat box there and hoping to just kind of slip off quietly and gently. But no, I think the Thrive idea is a great opportunity, I think, for, you know, kind of leaders and new leaders. So I was just going to say that. I love the tip about the winding up your day with your kind of half an hour finishing the things you were supposed to finish. Because like you, many people here, I suppose, I end up 7 o'clock firing up the laptop again. Kind of I forgot to do
Me
something.
too.
So thank you for that. So and thank Maura for that. So that's great. Thank you very much. It was great session today.
Thanks a million, folks. I just want to say we have a brilliant lineup for these events shaping up, and I see Liz Hughes here. So just to say, one of them is we've got the DEI team from eBay coming on. We've got some other guest speakers lining up. So it's going to be really interesting. Again, Thrive is all about purpose, leadership, impact, culture. So all this stuff is the space that we're in. We want to do lots more of that, and the impact culture sessions will continue to do that once a month. So thanks a million for being here, folks. Lovely to see some faces, older and newer, familiar faces, and we will be in touch. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, folks. Lovely to see you all.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you very
everyone.
much.